Solera system can be found in many other different types of winemaking, in particular port, but in regards to sherry, especially the biological aging, the idea of Solera is absolutely paramount. First and foremost, when the wine is racked and destined to become a biological age, it's set up in a Solera or in the Criadera slates or the stacks. So it's kind of hard to do this visually, but if you can get an idea, the newer Criaderas are going to be placed up on top. I guess visually this might work a little bit better. The youngest Solera is going to be placed up on top, and the wines are going to stay there, and it's going to be used to fractionally blend into lower terraces or different degrees of the Solera system. Now, wines from the top, or wines from each section can only be drawn in 1/3 amounts. So only wines from for every liter that's drawn out, 3 liters must remain at each level of the Solera. And these wines are going to be drawn out the back end of the barrel to where it'll slowly filter down through. A little bit of the younger wine is added to the second level, and then to the third level, to the fourth level. Typically in a given Solera, you'll have anywhere between 4 all the way to 14 different Criadera stacks. Now that's what's going to give the sherry not only its proper aging, but also the right for flora to flourish. Now the main reason you have these Solera systems is for the thriving of flora, as well as the consistency of the wine itself. Now, flora needs a combination of not only the temperatures, but also oxygen and nutrients for it to thrive. And for the flora to remain constant, because this natural occurrence of flora or yeast needs these nutrients, as the wine develops in the Solera, it uses up the sugars which will create this yeast. So, over time, the flora will naturally want to break down. So by adding Solera from a newer age, newer vintages, it will add nutrients back into the older one to rebuild the flora. Now, in addition, because the wine also needs that certain temperature as well as oxygen, by them opening the barrels up and adding in new flora, new oxygen, new nutrients will come in to rebuild and reestablish that flora. The final product of sherry, especially in regards to the oxidative style, will come in 2 major forms. The first and foremost being a Fino style, which is definitely going to be the most delicate. In regards to tasting profiles, as you go down from, or as I continue down this scale, they're going to go from a little bit lighter style, lighter nutty style, to more of that richer style, especially in texture. Fino is going to be the lightest. It's going to be lightly salty, a little nutty. You'll feature a little bit of almost like mushroom notes with a light minerality to it. And the wine is going to stay consistent right around that 15 to 16 degree alcohol by volume. The second type is Amontillado. These are going to be typically just a little bit more textured, a little bit more rich than the Fino style. You're still going to have that light, delicate, nutty flavor, but you're also going to get a little bit more of a resonated note. The alcohol is going to be slightly higher because it is fortified again and blended after it goes to the Solera system. So it'll be roughly around the 17 to 18% alcohol by volume, falling anywhere between 16 to 20. This is going to actually have just a little bit more, again, the raisinated sun fruits, a little bit more developed bouquet, leaning more toward the sweet nuts as opposed to the light and salty nuts. The third style, which is going to be more prevalent, is going to be the Oloroso style. These are going to be the oxidative styles, and these are going to be much more robust, much more sunned. You're going to really taste almost like the dehydrated, raisinated quality of these wines. Much more of the rich caramel, toffee, rich sweet hazelnut character, as opposed to the light notes of the Fino. Now, other than the biological, which age or kind of sherry, the much easier to understand, the oxidative style of sherry is typically destined or predestined at the very, very beginning. So in regards to oxidative styles of sherry, most of them are predetermined and fortified prior to it going into the sublatabilis resting period. When they say the wine is fortified, again, going back to when the wine was first fermented to about 11 to 12%, the wine is actually fortified all the way to past 18%. This way, flora cannot develop, and the wine will age under the oxidative Oloroso style. Now, because it is fortified again more earlier, it's going to kill much more of the natural sugars, but it can be sweetened back up. So these wines are going to tend to be bigger, more robust, more richer, and definitely a little bit higher in alcohol content. Now, the Oloroso styles are going to be, again, more of the rich caramel toffee notes, very resonated type of fruit. In regards to food pairings, what I think a lot of them would go with, if you're going for more of a light fino or amontillado style, I think bright soups are very nicely to go alongside it, as well as a consommé, something with a little bit of texture, something that would require it to be just a little bit more, or add some natural saltiness, some nuttiness to the dish. As you're going on more toward the richer styles, the Olorosos and the cream styles of sherry, I would go more toward the dessert end category, because these wines will be, in general, just a little bit sweeter. So for example, with like a nice Oloroso, especially like a Pedro Jimenez, I love a nice caramel pecan tart, something that will really match in texture. Caramel sauces are fantastic with a richer style of sherry. So that's something I'd highly recommend. Now, in regards to certain producers, the ones that I've had the most experience with are probably Emilio Lustau's, as well as Osborne. They make fantastic dessert style sherries. You can find a fantastic light fino style of sherry for $20 to $25. Once you start getting into more of the richer styles, it could be just a little bit more expensive, but you can still find good sherries out there for about $30.